Welcome to TradersArmy.com, defending your right to build wealth and preserve capital for generations to come. Hey everybody, welcome to the weekend edition of the Daily Market Commentary. I am your host, Chuck Fulkerson. I want to give a big shout out and welcome to the TradersArmy.com listeners for our weekend edition of the Core Market Perspective as well. What we do here on the Daily Market Commentary is we look at the same 10 to 12 futures markets every day, trying to identify potential breakouts, turning points, and look at the markets from a technical perspective. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to kick off starting with the S&P. I love to do these things on Sunday nights because I like to do it after the futures markets have opened up. I think that gives us an indication of kind of where and what may be going on. And so right now, our S&P futures markets have done literally nothing. So we don't have anything to report at the moment, but we can review a little bit of what we talked about on the previous Friday. And specifically on the previous Friday, we had talked about a potential breakout from this triangular shape. We had a little bit of a symmetrical triangle pattern breaking, and we did break out above that area here. So, in any sort of symmetrical triangle we talked about, it's really touch point 2 to the opposite side, where when the breakout occurs, it's a measured move, and oddly enough, it was about this distance would have been the measured move if it had broken out to the downside. It wasn't quite that deep. If you look at our second touch down to the opposite side, had it broke out to here, that's about where it would be. Well, from this case, this tells me that we may have a little bit of room to go, 2765, which would put us right here at this prior resistance point up here. So once again, I don't really go off of chart pattern movements as my only trading style, but it is something that when it does appear for a potential. So hopefully some of you were able to catch some of that on Friday. Looking at this on a bigger picture scale, one of the things that we can see is that on our daily chart, we have put in a higher swing low, no doubt here, as well as a higher swing high. So that is the indications that, okay, we've got an upward trend. One thing to consider, and I don't have volume on this chart, but our volume is significantly lower than it has been in the prior few weeks. So just keep an eye on the fact that though we're going up on significantly lower volume, which does not play well in for longer term continuation of this upward move. I think there's a chance we may be range bound for a while. So as it stands right now for some of our reversal points in the S&P, we've still got two areas identified. There's probably going to be an opportunity right through here. I don't know if we're going to come back into this range, but this is a range to keep on your radar as a place that we broke out from, that we may get another bite at the apple. Right in here. So I'm gonna highlight this as a potential area. Not super sold on it, but I think it could still act as a potential area kind of in the future. So I'm gonna let that one go. Let's look at the NASDAQ for just a moment. Now the NASDAQ opened up tonight, and I just tweeted about this. It opened up in our fair price value selling area. Opened up in it and got one quick move out of it and really hasn't done a whole lot since. So in this case, I'd be really, really watching my stops very closely. That's one of the things I typed in the tweet that I put up for today. That I put up this evening. Just watch your stops very tightly. Maybe take profits when they're there. Just keep an eye on this thing so that it doesn't come up and bite you while you're sleeping in your bed. I like this little area here as a potential reversal if we do keep coming down, and maybe even a profit target from the short up in this range. Looking at crude oil, so looking at crude, we've got our area of potential selling opportunity up in here where we had a little bit of a fair price value area before a very strong drop in price. This area was a former area of support that could now act as a resistance in the future. We are definitely getting higher swing highs, higher swing lows on our trend, so giving us the indication that we may get a chance to jump back in and rejoin this bigger picture upward trend. now is not the time to do it. I'm going to look at this on a 15-minute scale and see if this area here would become a valid spot, simply because it was our area of prior resistance here where we had a little bit of a fair price value. I did go down to the 15-minute chart, so I need to change my time period here and go over to this purple line for a potential in crude oil. Looking at gold, solid gold, and we are rallying up on Sunday night in our gold markets. I am interested to see if we stall right in this area here, where we've got a lot of fair price value area, lower swing highs, roughly the same swing lows. Was a pretty good breakout trade off of a descending triangle pattern. I want to see if we have a hard time getting up to there. For now, there's really nothing that I'm doing in gold. There's nothing in here that's telling me it's time to jump in. I don't want to buy too late. I also don't want to buy because I get FOMO. For those of you who don't know what FOMO is, it's fear of missing out. I don't just want to buy because I feel like I'm missing out on what could be a pretty good move. Let's go and talk about bonds. Let's talk about them. So bonds gapped down on Sunday night, opened up much lower than it did than where we closed on Friday, and we still have a selling area above us right in this range here. I'm not sure if we're going to get back to there, especially with this huge gap down. Now, this wasn't a gap and run, as we've already faded back a little bit on this gap, but it'd be interesting to see where we open tomorrow, and there could be a gap and run on the opening if you just use the daily chart and not necessarily the intraday overnight charts. Aussie trade still big move down from here. We have now gotten a higher swing high. Talked to a friend of mine who said he closed it out before the weekend ended because he's just not going to hold it over the weekend. And no surprise, we got a higher swing high as soon as the weekend ended anyway in the Aussie. So I'm going to remove this trade. Hopefully some of you are able to catch that and ride that wave for a little while and catch the swell, if you will. In the euro, we've got a level up here in the euro for a potential reversal. I'm going to leave this thing be. There's really nothing to add on our euro trade. Canadian dollar as well. The breakout is over. So let's take that breakdown trade that we had on the Canadian dollar and remove that area. We'd have to look for a potential reversal in the future. There's a potential for this area right here. I'm not gonna mark it off as of yet. I'd like to see the arrival into this region before I'm a big believer in it. So not quite there yet. I got to see the arrival before I'm a believer. Looking at nat gas, our nat gas wrong one. Highlighted the wrong chart. Nat gas is in the upper left. So nat gas today gapped straight up into our fair price value area. Have not gotten any move out of that thing yet. So if you're in this thing, it has it's gapped up into your region. Obviously, this level here, price never got us an entry on here because we would have to wait for price to come in and then get short as it comes back out. Never came back out. That's why we have the dashed line in place. So there's no reason for that trade to ever have been entered. However, this one that may be entered in here could be on the wrong side of the law, if you will. Great British pound. I still like this area up here in the pound. It was formed right around the London market open. And so being at around the London market open gives it a bit more credence. And originally I had left it off because it was a kind of a retest of this area here in the past. But I'm going to put this back in as a potential reversal point. Looking here at the Japanese yen, we still have an area in place. There's nothing up here that I'm in love with, so I'm going to let that thing be. And then our copper position as well on the changing of the guard here, we've gapped up just a little bit. So nothing really to report as of yet. So that being said, heading into this week, some things that I would look for. I think that we've got some more Fed statements coming out this week that may their sentiment on market movement, I think, is going to be something that that is very, very, very tightly watched in the investment community, and we're going to want to make sure that we do the same thing. But I think the number one rule is you got to always follow your plan. If you know your plan, you can follow your plan. If you follow your plan, you'll be okay. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email, reach out, leave a comment in the chat box down below, and I will, until next time, I will see you soon. Thanks so much, everybody.